There is this moment in time. There is this focus on global governance. There is technological innovation. There's all this stuff. What do you think? What does this look like in 2 or 3 years? What does this look like in 5 years? I'd love to hear both of you, share your thoughts on that. Sheila?
Yeah, I think it's quite different in 2 to 3 versus 5. So in 2 to 3, I think everyone is still reacting to China. Just putting it really bluntly, I think that's going to really occupy the next 18 months or so, because it is human being nature to just kind of react, right? And if what we expect to see coming out of China is what we actually do ultimately see, I think there's going to be a lot of needed to some extent, but also perhaps overblown response to that. Mm-hmm. However, I think that will dissipate. I think that, relatively quickly, I think people will kind of accommodate whatever they see and figure out exactly how to respond to it or carve out a new space or whatever it might look like. And then we'll shift into something that I really hope is truly more global and inclusive in nature. So at the 5-year mark, to kind of focus more there, I think we are going to see a lot more access by people who are not currently included in the formal economy into the formal economy, with on-ramps and off-ramps to more traditional systems. I don't think those are going to go away, I think, to kind of Dante's earlier point. But I do think we're going to see more entry and exit, in and out of those systems where it is productive to be in those systems, versus being adjacent to those systems, but in a way that is complementary, to those systems and accommodates the reality of those systems. Do I see a massive Fight Club type burn it all down, Mr. Robot revolution in money? I gotta be honest, I don't see that. Certainly not in 5 years. And I don't even know that is necessarily necessary. However, I do hope that certain aspects of our current system that really don't serve anyone well, they serve very, very narrow set of players extremely well, and they really don't serve anybody else particularly well. I hope that we will be able to loosen the stranglehold that certain actors have on our economic, monetary and financial systems, and more equitably allocate the risk and reward, as opposed to just reserving all the reward for a handful and blowing the risk down to places where we like to pretend that we can treat it as outside of our system or invisible to us. So that's my hope, and I feel very optimistic about that in a 5-year timeframe.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, look, for my part, for all the doom and gloom and the talk of risk and resilience, I'm actually an eternal optimist. And I think between 0 and 3 years from today, I think one will have made it clear that the stablecoin and the digital currency movement had less to do with reinventing money and more to do with reinventing how people interact with the exchange of value, number one. And I think you'll start to see real big movement, for example, across key remittance corridors around the world that are stranded at the 7% global average, if not higher. You'll start to see very vigorous competition at the edge of trying to enable faster cross-border peer-to-peer payments. And that, to the extent that can happen in a 3 to 5 year run, I think it's a very, very meaningful contribution. And then in the 3 to 5 and then 5 onwards, I do think you'll start to see a lot of ubiquity of this. I mean, there is a movement afoot that is it's a generation different than our own, I presume, born with instant gratification, born with trust in technology, that is going to be much more willing to accept that value can also exist in a non-physical form, and transferred in a non-physical form for everything as simple as paying a micropayment for liking a Medium article, or as complex as making a commercial transaction. I think the movement of money and the movement of value is what is being reinvented around these concepts that we've discussed today, and much less so the reinvention of money itself. And so I'm very optimistic that a lot of good will come in the future.
The money movement has legs.
Yeah, exactly.